For those of you that have started a business in this room, or the fucking weenie cunts that are on YouTube, if you started a business, the first 50,000 pounds, euros, or dollars in your business was geometric growth. The next 50 or $100,000 or pounds or euros was geometric growth. Then why didn't you continue? You started playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Wait, this is not a linear deal. This is not linear. This is not 2 plus 2 equals 4. This is 2 to the 50th power times 2 to the 5,000th power. It's geometric. And for those of you that have never been around high performers, and for those of you that have never been through or part of a high performance team, you don't know what I'm talking about. Most people in this room, I'm the closest thing that vis-a-vis social distancing, that you've been to a high performance person in your life, other than maybe you were on a university basketball team or a college wrestling team or something like that, where you had one guy and or one gal who was a super high performer. Which says mountains, says volumes, if you've never been around a high performance person. If you work for General Electric and you never met Jack Welch, that's tragic. I know if I'd been at General Electric, I would have met the little shit. Just as when I was with the Onassis people, I met Konstantin Gatsos. I made it my endeavor, my goal to meet the guy. And he ultimately became my mentor and was my mentor for many, many years. But I've always seeked out, some people would say, trouble. Your parents, when they sent you to school the first day, if you don't remember, I'll remind you, stay out of trouble, eat your lunch, keep your clothes clean, Well, I think every parent, normally the mother, has given that talk to the kid when she walks him to school. In the school that I went to, the grammar school, the very grammar school I tried to kill my teacher in, 10, 12 years later, I still remember holding onto my mom's finger like this and walking to school. Now, I used to think the school was like 4 or 5 miles away, 3 blocks. But when you're a little kid, and I was never that little, 3 blocks, but I didn't keep my head down. I didn't do all the aforementioned things that you would, as a loving parent, normally, a loving, nourishing parent, normally the mom, not always, but normally, I didn't do any of that shit. Because kids don't do what you tell them to do, they do what they see you do. And I saw my dad a fucking superhero. Like Superman. Which he was. So I wanted to emulate Superman, so I did a lot of stupid, in hindsight. Of course, hindsight's 20/20. For those of you that have ever drunk to excess, you knew how you were going to feel the next day. If you didn't, you were a fucking moron, okay? But you drank anyway. This normally is associated with younger people, but some of you are still young enough to drink stupidly. Now, I've never done drugs to excess, so I don't know what that feels like. Although I had my first marijuana cookie a year and a half ago. I didn't know it was a marijuana cookie. And we went out to dinner. I was drinking it with red wine and the sweet, and we went out to dinner. Vinica, for those of you that have talked to Vinica. We were in Amsterdam, which getting a marijuana cookie is not that difficult in Amsterdam. And the food tasted, God, I ate 2 servings of bread. They had to bring butter 3 times. I mean, the water even tastes good. I couldn't understand it. And so Vinica and Sally started laughing. What's so goddamn funny? And then it dawned on me that the cannabis in the cookie, and I go, fuck, I weigh 500 pounds for sure. Maybe you get used to it. So I don't know what taking too many drugs, it feels like, but I certainly do vis-a-vis alcohol. The Hall of Fame kids, which you can't see anymore because it's in the other room. And by the way, as I said last night, I love this new setup. The Hall of Fame kids, I didn't have to motivate anybody. Not last seminar, but the seminar before last. I went through all the Hall of Fame kids to think back upon my relationship with them. And every single one to a man or a woman I didn't have to motivate. Now that speaks volumes. Not one single one. Now there's a difference between motivating and getting them back on the playing field. Because a number of them straight off the playing field, like in the famous scene of Forrest Gump when he's running the wrong way in the football field. I've had a number of those guys and gals. And I got them back and they finally scored, so to speak, and then they're on the Hall of Fame. But vis-a-vis having to motivate them, not a one. And as Andrew Carnegie said about 120 years ago, there's 4 reasons for success. Financial motive must prevail, 1. Number 2, financial motive must prevail. Number 3, financial motive must prevail. And number 4, financial motive must prevail. Money talks and bullshit fucking walks. That's it. There is no other. Financial motive must prevail. Now, I knew that when I was 5 years old, in the hood. Financial motive must prevail. And now, of course, we have human resources which beg to differ with me. And they'll talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is horseshit. And that you need to be loved, which is horseshit. Mongolian ponies, which are arguably the strongest racing ponies in the world, they have 2 characteristics, and this is according to Mongol history or folklore. 1, they ride until they die, and 2, you don't have to cuddle them like other horses. You cuddle British horses, American, you cuddle, you'd be nice. Mongolian, they treat like mushrooms. They keep them in the dark and shit on them. They're a horse. Now, here I am, a person that I cry when I see dogs hurt, but I mean, I'm much more empathetic or sympathetic, which I don't have for humans, for animals. But there's no cuddling here. And the reason there was no cuddling, one of the primary reasons, is I've never been cuddled by a high-performance person in my fucking life. I was against hugging and kissing 50 years ago. Unless you've got big tits and you're blonde and you're on your back, don't fucking touch me. I hope we never go back to cuddling and kissing and all that shit. I'll be happy as fucking Larry.